In mid-Victorian Pembrokeshire, the religious landscape was divided between the established church in Wales and growing nonconformist movements. The arrival of missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the 1840s and 1850s brought an entirely new dynamic. Many converts came from nonconformist backgrounds, seeing the Latter-day Saints' faith as a complete restoration of primitive Christianity rather than just another reform. The catalyst for this spiritual revolution was Captain Dan Jones, a mariner who had stood by Joseph Smith in his final hours. Jones returned to Wales with a mission to gather converts. He preached in town squares, cottage kitchens and village greens across Pembrokeshire, speaking to miners and labourers in Welsh, weaving biblical promises with a call to build Zion in the American West. The missionaries faced considerable hostility. Daniel Williams documented encountering jeering crowds and outright opposition while preaching. In tight-knit communities, conversion was seen as a betrayal. Those who joined the Latter-day Saints often faced social ostracization and the wrath of local landowners. Yet the conversions continued across parishes like Freystrop, Monkton, Penally, Landshipping and Stepaside. Brigham Young's influence on Pembrokeshire was significant. Local folklore speaks of him visiting the county, with legends of him staying at Little Milford or preaching in nearby woods. While historians debate his physical presence, the local conviction remains strong. Whether he came personally or not, Young recognized the value of Welsh converts. He specifically encouraged recruiting coal miners and iron workers from Pembrokeshire, knowing their industrial skills were essential for Utah's self-sufficiency. The Cousins family of Freystrop illustrates the profound human drama of these conversions. Rebecca Cousins died at 16 in 1859 and was buried in St. Justinian's churchyard. Her headstone stands as witness to a family divided by faith. While Rebecca remained in Pembrokeshire soil, her sisters Elizabeth and Mary Ann left home in the middle of the night to join the Latter-day Saints and journey to America. Descendants of the Cousins sisters returned to Freystrop in the 1960s, reconnecting with the land their ancestors had left behind over a century earlier. The appeal of gathering to Zion wasn't purely spiritual. Life in 19th-century Pembrokeshire was brutal. The economy relied on agriculture and coal mining, both at the mercy of the Industrial Revolution. Coal miners worked in claustrophobic darkness for barely subsistence wages. Mining accidents, black lung, cave-ins and explosions were constant threats. There was no safety net and no prospect of improvement. The Latter-day Saints' message offered land ownership and economic independence in the American West. For people who had never owned anything, this was revolutionary. Many of these families had never traveled more than 10 miles from home. The idea of crossing an ocean and continent was nearly incomprehensible, yet the promise made the risk worthwhile. The exodus was remarkably organized. Families across Pembrokeshire sold their belongings and packed what they could carry. Most traveled to Liverpool, the major hub for Latter-day Saints emigration. From there, they boarded ships to New Orleans or New York. The ocean crossing was an ordeal: steerage accommodations, seasickness, disease, and death. The 1849 group lost 1/5 of their number to cholera. After reaching America, families faced a 1,000-mile trek across the Great Plains, many pulling handcarts loaded with all their possessions. For those without money, the Perpetual Emigrating Fund allowed converts to borrow passage costs and repay once established in Utah. This system made emigration possible for thousands who couldn't otherwise afford it. Dan Jones maintained communication through publications like Udgorn Sion, Zion's Trumpet, providing vital information about emigration and maintaining community cohesion. His work, combined with Brigham Young's strategic vision, created an efficient pipeline from Pembrokeshire to Utah. Young directed Welsh miners to specific settlements. In 1854, Welsh miners were sent to Sanpete Valley to tap coal deposits, founding the town of Wales, Utah. These men who had fled Welsh mining operations found themselves recreating similar work, though now within the communal framework of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They built stone cottages mirroring Welsh architecture and established eisteddfods to preserve their language and music. The Exodus left visible marks on Pembrokeshire. Census records from the mid to late 19th century documented entire kinship groups disappearing from parishes across the county. Names vanished from census rolls, cottages fell into ruin, and communities were depopulated. It is the story of absence, of families who simply left and never returned. The impact in Utah was equally profound. Approximately 20% of Utah's population today is of Welsh descent. Names like Cousins, Williams, and John appear on street fronts and street signs across the Intermountain West. By 1869, approximately 80,000 saints had made the journey. Beyond labor, Welsh converts made significant cultural contributions. John Parry from North Wales is credited with forming what became the Mormon Tabernacle Chorus, bringing Welsh choral traditions to Salt Lake Valley. Welsh families contributed engineering and masonry skills that built landmarks including the Logan and Salt Lake temples. The Mormon exodus from Pembrokeshire was one of the significant migrations of the 19th century. It was driven by economic desperation, spiritual conviction, and the promise of land and liberty. Parishes across the county lost hundreds of families. The call of Zion demanded everything: heritage, safety, and proximity to ancestral graves. These families traded the hills and valleys of Pembrokeshire for the desert landscapes of Utah, leaving a trail of history that stretches across the globe. The migration was facilitated by organized leadership, financial support systems, and published materials in Welsh. It connected remote Pembrokeshire villages with the expanding American frontier. The converts became architects of a new society, serving as bishops, farmers, craftsmen, and community leaders. Their descendants carry forward a legacy that bridges two continents, preserving Welsh cultural traditions while building new communities in the American West.